Welcome to Lento English. Ready to level up your English? Here we learn through stories, slow, clear, and fun. Listen, relax, and enjoy the journey.
1. Introduction. Things in the Middle East are becoming difficult. There are many bad feelings between countries. Recently, the United States did something important. It attacked places in Iran. These places were important for Iran's nuclear work. The United States said these attacks were necessary. Iran did not wait long to answer. Iran quickly did something back. It launched missiles. These missiles flew towards a military base of the United States. The base is in a country called Qatar. This action by Iran made the situation much worse. People near the base heard things. They heard very loud sounds in the sky. They were like big bangs. People also saw bright lights. These lights were from systems that try to stop things in the air. These systems are called air defenses. They were trying to stop the missiles from hitting the ground. This event is part of a bigger problem. There is a fight happening. This fight involves Iran, Israel, and the United States. This fight has been going on for some time. The actions by the United States against Iran's nuclear places and then Iran's missiles are part of this big fight. They show that the problems are getting much bigger. This new attack by Iran on a United States base shows how bad things are now. It is a serious moment in the problems in the Middle East. The United States has military people in many countries in the region. A main base is Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. This base is very important for the United States military in the Middle East. Many United States soldiers and workers are there. Reports said there are about 8,000 United States citizens at this base. This base is where the United States military plans many of its air operations in the region. The attack happened quickly after the United States attacked Iran's nuclear places. Iran's action was a direct answer. It was a way for Iran to show it can fight back. The situation is now very tense. People are watching to see what will happen next. Will the fighting stop or will it get worse? The attack on the base in Qatar is a big step in this difficult time. It shows the danger in the Middle East is high. The conflict between these countries is now very open and serious. It affects many people and many countries in the area. This chapter tells you about the start of these very difficult events. 2. Attack on base. Iran launched missiles. They aimed at a large U.S. military base. This base is in the country of Qatar. The base is called Al Udeid Air Base. It is the biggest base for the U.S. military in the Middle East. This base is very important. It is the main office for all U.S. air work in the region. This includes flying planes for different operations. Many people from the U.S. military and other U.S. citizens are at the base. There are about 8,000 U.S. people there. Some soldiers from the UK military are also working at this base. This base was seen by some as an obvious target. This is because it is important for U.S. operations and is closer to Iran than some other places. People living nearby heard loud noises in the sky. They also saw bright lights. This was the air defense system working. It tries to stop incoming missiles. News reports from Iran said that Iran's military attacked the base. They said this was a strong and successful action. On Iranian state television, they showed pictures and played music. Words on the screen called the attack a mighty and successful response by the armed forces of Iran. This was a response to recent attacks on Iran. Later, the military itself confirmed the attack happened. Iranian officials made a statement. They said Iran must respond if its country is attacked. They also said that U.S. military bases in the region are not safe places for the U.S. They called them weak spots. The government of Qatar gave information about what happened at the base. They said that no people were hurt or killed in the attack. This is because the people on the base moved to safe places before the missiles arrived. The base was evacuated. So the soldiers and other workers were not injured at all. It is not yet known if any of the missiles hit the buildings or areas inside the base. It is also not known if anything was damaged there. Reports said there was no material damage. There were also reports about another place that might have been targeted. This was a different U.S. military base. This base is in the country of Iraq. Its name is Ain al-Assad Base. U.S. soldiers are also at this base in Iraq. There are about 40,000 U.S. troops in the region in total, in big bases and smaller ones. Ain al-Assad is one of these places. Groups in Iraq that are friends with Iran have attacked this base before. In the year 2020, Iran also fired missiles directly at the Ain al-Assad base. Because of this history, some people thought that this base in Iraq might also be a target this time. The attack on Al-Udeid was confirmed first by news from Iran. 3. Getting ready. Before the attack took place, important preparations were made. There were clear signs that something might happen soon. The government of the United States had information suggesting that Iran was getting ready to launch missiles. They believed the target could be in Qatar. Because of this information, steps were taken to protect people and property. Hours before the missiles arrived, the country of Qatar made an important announcement. They said they were temporarily closing its airspace. This meant that no planes could fly in the sky over Qatar for a certain time. This action affected many flights. Websites that track planes showed that many aircraft had to change their plans. Instead of flying to Doha, they flew to different cities and airports. There were around 100 flights scheduled to arrive in Doha shortly before the attack was known. Doha's airport is one of the busiest in the world, so this closure was a big event for air travel. The United States and the United Kingdom also gave warnings. They told their citizens who were living or visiting in Qatar to find a safe place and stay there until further notice. Initially, these warnings did not give a very clear sign that an attack was about to happen. The U.S. government explained that this warning was given out of an abundance of caution. This means they wanted to be very careful, even if they were not completely sure of the danger yet. The UK government said they were doing the same thing as the Americans and following their lead. However, as the time passed, the warnings became stronger. About 1 hour before the attack, news sources learned that there was a credible threat to the military base. A credible threat means that the danger is thought to be real and serious. Some news reports in the United States quoted government officials who did not want their names used. These officials said that Iran had moved missile launchers into position. These launchers were in place and ready to fire missiles, possibly towards Qatar. The concern was not limited to Qatar's sky. Other countries nearby also decided to close their airspaces as a safety measure. This included the countries of Bahrain and Kuwait. This showed that the risk was seen across a wider area in the region. Also, as a general safety step, U.S. soldiers who were in different locations across the Middle East were told to go to safe places. They were instructed to shelter inside buildings or other protected areas. These preparations were completed just before the missile attack began. Everyone waited to see what would happen next after these warnings and closures. Why this happened. Before the missile attack, important things happened. These events led to the attack. The United States made big strikes against Iran. These strikes hit 3 places in Iran that were part of its nuclear work. This happened on a Saturday night. This action by the United States came after some time of not knowing what would happen. For days before, there was a question if the U.S. would join Israel. Israel was already doing military actions against Iran. Israel started these actions on the 13th of June. Since that time in June, Israel has been making missile strikes every day. These strikes hit places in Iran where they have nuclear work and military places. The government of Israel said these strikes are needed. They said it is to stop Iran from quickly making a nuclear weapon. For many years, both the United States and Israel have tried to stop Iran. They do not want Iran to get a nuclear weapon, but Iran has always said something different. Iran says its nuclear program is very large, but it is only for peaceful things. They say it is for civilian purposes, not for weapons. When the United States made its strikes, it said they caused much damage. The U.S. claimed these strikes badly hurt Iran's nuclear program. However, it was not fully clear how much damage was really done. The complete effect of the U.S. strikes was not known. Even after the big U.S. strikes, the fighting did not stop. Strikes between Iran and Israel also kept happening. They continued even on the Monday when the missile attack on the base happened. These actions and reactions built the situation that led to Iran firing missiles. 5. U.S. soldiers are there. Many U.S. soldiers are present in the Middle East region. The United States maintains a significant number of its military forces in various countries across this area. One particularly important location for the U.S. military is Al Udeid Air Base. This base is in the country of Qatar. It is one of the biggest U.S. military bases in the Middle East area. A large number of U.S. people are at this base. Around 8,000 U.S. citizens and military personnel are stationed there. Al Udeid is a main control center for the U.S. military. It is the headquarters for all their air operations across the whole region. Soldiers from the United Kingdom also serve at this base sometimes, rotating in and out. Another important U.S. base is the Ain al-Assad base. This base is located in Iraq. U.S. soldiers are also present at the Ain al-Assad base. These big bases, including Al Udeid in Qatar and Ain al-Assad in Iraq, are very important for the U.S. military's work and power in the Middle East. In total, there are many U.S. troops spread out across the region. The number is about 40,000 U.S. soldiers in different places. This includes the troops at the large bases in the Gulf countries, but also soldiers at smaller military sites, like those in Iraq and in Syria. Looking back at past events can give us important information about the current situation. For example, in the year 2020, when Donald Trump was the President of the United States for the first time, a significant event happened. The U.S. military killed a very important and high-ranking Iranian general. His name was Qasem Soleimani. He was a powerful leader within Iran's military structure. After the United States killed General Soleimani, Iran decided to take action directly. Instead of using other groups that are allied with Iran in the region, Iran itself launched missile attacks. These missiles were fired at the Ain al-Assad base in Iraq. This base was home to U.S. soldiers. This direct attack by Iran showed that they could and would strike U.S. forces themselves, not just through other groups. This historical event is important because it provides a clear example of how Iran has responded to direct actions by the U.S. in the past. The large number of U.S. soldiers and bases throughout the Middle East means they are potential targets when tensions are high. Bases like Al-Udeid are very important for the U.S. military to do its job. But as the source text mentioned, Iran sees these U.S. bases in the region as weak points that can be attacked, not as strong defenses. Knowing about the locations where U.S. forces are based and remembering important past events, like the attack on Ain al-Assad after Soleimani's death, helps us understand the background and reasons for the recent attacks. It shows the long history of direct conflict and responses between the U.S. and Iran in this area of the world. 6. Iran's reasons. After the attack, Iran's military group spoke. They said that Iran must answer any attack on its land. They stated clearly that U.S. bases in the area are not safe places for the U.S., but rather weak points. One reason for the attack was to show a strong response. Iran wanted to match the actions of the United States. They said the number of missiles they used was the same as the number of bombs the U.S. had used on their nuclear places a few days before. This was a way to say, "You hit us, we hit you back in the same way." It was a planned response. Another reason comes from Iran's friends in the region. Iran has groups in other countries who fight for them. These groups are sometimes called proxies. But lately, some of these groups have become weaker. For example, a leader of a group in Lebanon was killed. Also, a friend in Syria is not as strong as before. With fewer strong friends to fight for them, Iran felt it had to act itself directly against the U.S. Inside Iran, the government also has reasons for this action. There has been pressure from the people. There have been big protests in the country. The government needs to show its own people that it is strong and can defend Iran. Acting against the U.S. is one way to do this. It sends a message to the people at home. It also sends a message to Iran's supporters in other countries in the region. There have been many people in other places who support Iran. This attack shows them that Iran is taking action. So, Iran's reasons were several. They wanted to answer the U.S. attack directly on their own land. They wanted to respond in a similar way, matching the number of strikes. They needed to act themselves because their friends in the region are weaker. And they wanted to show strength to their own people and to their supporters in the Middle East. 7. What comes next? After the missiles, people waited. What would happen now? The United States government had said things before. They said if Iran attacked, the US would answer with something much bigger. This was a serious warning. Now the United States had to decide what to do next. Would they do something big, or would they try to stop the fighting? It was a difficult time. Fighting between Iran and Israel was still happening too. This made the situation more dangerous. Every attack could lead to another attack. It was like a game where one side hits, then the other side hits back. Iran said they used the same number of missiles as the United States used bombs before. This was like saying, "You did this, so we do this." But this kind of action can make things worse and worse. It is hard to stop fighting once it starts. Both sides feel they must answer the other side's actions. If they do not answer, they might look weak. This is especially true for the leaders in Iran. They need to show their people they are strong. But doing too much could be bad for them too. It could start a bigger war that they cannot control. Nobody seemed to be helping stop the fighting. Other countries were watching, but they were not bringing the sides together to talk. There was not much diplomacy happening. Diplomacy is when countries talk to find a peaceful way. Without talking, it is harder to stop the cycle of attacks. So, what comes next is not clear. Will the United States answer with a big attack? Will Iran attack again? Will the fighting between Iran and Israel stop, or will it get worse? The situation is very tense. Many people worry about what will happen next in the Middle East. The danger of a bigger conflict is real. Everyone hopes for peace, but the path to peace is not easy right now. 8. Things we learned. The things that happened recently teach us important lessons. We saw how quickly a situation can become dangerous. One action led to another action and then another. This is like a cycle, and it seems to be getting stronger. When one country does something, another country feels it must respond. This can make things worse very fast. The missile attack on the military base was a response to earlier attacks. It showed that countries are willing to use force. We learned that peace in this area is not very strong. It is fragile like thin glass. It can break easily. When missiles are in the air and defense systems try to stop them, it shows how close to big conflict the region is. People had to hide and planes could not fly. This shows how much fear there was and how life changed quickly for many people. It is also clear that it is difficult for everyone involved to control the situation. Leaders have hard choices. They want to show they are strong, especially to their own people. But they also do not want a much bigger war that could hurt many more people. Finding the right balance is very difficult. Sometimes, things happen that nobody planned. These unexpected events can make the situation even harder to manage. We learned that when countries have problems with each other, the whole region can become less safe. The actions of one country can affect many others. The future of the region is not certain. Will the cycle of attacks and responses stop, or will it continue and grow? How countries talk to each other or do not talk is very important now. These events show that finding ways to reduce tension and avoid more fighting is a big challenge for everyone.